Welcome back to Baseball 101. Last episode, we talked about balls and strikes. In this episode, we're going to talk about hits and outs. Let's talk about hits. If a batter hits the ball and makes it to first base safely, that's called a single. If a batter hits the ball and makes it to second safely, that's called a double. Another way you can get a double is by hitting the ball and having that ball bounce over the fence or out of play, in which it's called a ground rule double, and you're awarded second base for free. If the batter hits the ball and makes it to third base safely, that's a triple.
Back at the ball, except you can put it on the ball, yes!
If the batter makes it all the way around, it's called a home run. And there's two ways you can get that. One, it's by hitting it out of the park.
That's gone. Yeah. Pushed down.
Over the fence, it's gone. The other way is by running all the way around the bases before the outfield can get the ball back to home. The batter doesn't always have to swing at the ball. Sometimes there's a strategy played called bunting, in which the batter gently touches the ball to try and gently put it into play.
Down, it's a dandy, base hit.
Chief! Oftentimes, this is done to try and advance a runner from first base or any other base forward. Now, whether you get out at first or not, you're sacrificing your at-bat so the runner advances. We talked about ways the batter is awarded a hit by reaching the base safely, but there's also another scenario where any fielder can make a mistake in which the batter is then safe at first or any other base. Now, it's not an out and it's not a hit, it's called an error. Chief! The way the batter is awarded a base for free is if he's walked, hit by a pitch, or catcher's interference, in which the batter hits the catcher, any part of the catcher, disrupting his at-bat, and again, gets the base for free. The final way a batter can get to first base for free is if the batted ball hits off an umpire. The key to that, however, is that it has to not pass any of the other fielders except the pitcher. In the last module, we talked about foul balls when you're swinging. You can stay up there all day as long as you don't miss the ball, or if the foul ball is not caught on the third strike. With bunting, it's a little bit different. If you foul a ball when you bunt on the third strike, it's considered an out. Another way a hitter can get out is by touching a hit ball when he's outside the batter's box. He's out. Or if they hit the ball again with the bat. He's out. And once the pitcher is ready to pitch, the batter cannot change to the other batter's box. If you get hit by a pitch and you're over the strike zone, you don't get to take your base. It actually counts as a strike. Finally, if a batter has a foot entirely outside of the batter's box when he makes contact with the pitch, he's out. So let's start by looking at ways we can get a batter out. One of the ways to get a batter out is if a fielder catches the ball before it hits the ground. Now, the ball doesn't have to be in fair territory to be caught. If it's caught in foul territory, it equally counts as an out. He's out. once the ball is hit into play, and especially if it's on the ground, the batter now has to run to first. It's up to the defense to throw the ball over to try and get him out. In this scenario, they don't have to tag the runner. All the first baseman has to do is step on the base and be in possession of the ball, and the runner's out. He's out!
We've covered outs of the batter. Now let's talk about outs of the base runners when they're running the bases.
As we said, when the ball is put into play, the batter has to run to first base. He's forced to. Now, if there's a runner on first base, because the runner is forced to advance to the next base, it's sufficient to be in possession of the ball and touch the base that he's advancing to get that runner out. He's out! The nice thing about hitting the ball and running to first base is you don't have to stop at first base. So you can run at full speed through first base as long as you turn and immediately return back to first base. Chief! You don't have to just turn on the foul side. If you're running to first and you run past the base, you can turn into the field in fair territory as long as you don't make a move to second and you return to the base after. Chief! However, if I do make that move towards second base, or if I ground first base in fair territory too hard, I'm liable to get out. He's out! And although you can run through first base and round it, when it comes to second and third base, you can't. You gotta stay on the base. Something a runner is not allowed to do is pass a preceding runner. If they do, they're out. He's out!
Another way to get a runner out is to tag them out. When you're in possession of the ball, you just touch them. If they're not in contact with the base, they'll be out.
He's out!
This leads us into one of the tricky rules in baseball that confuses people a lot. We talked about a runner being forced to go to a base, and if they're forced to go to a base, it's sufficient to get them out just to be in possession of the ball and tag the base before they get there.
He's out!
But if they continue past that base, they're no longer forced. They could carry on to the next base, or they could go back to the base that they've already attained. Now, just tagging the next base is not sufficient.
Chief!
You have to actually tag them in order to get them out. He has the option to return back to second base or stay at third. Okay, so if I wanted to get him out, I would have had to tag him with the ball before he got to the base. That's where we see runners try to slide into a base. They try to stop right on the base, and they try to get under that tag from the fielder so that they'll be safe. Okay, so here's a tricky situation for you. If a runner is forced because a previous runner is also forced, they have to go to the next base, and you can get them out just by tagging the base. But if you get out the previous runner, that removes the force. Because now that subsequent runner could come back to that base, which is now free. It's no longer sufficient to tag the base to get them out. Now you must tag the runner.
Tag! He's out!
Where this tag play versus force play becomes important is if it's the last out in the inning. If the third out is a force out, then no run counts on that play. So imagine we have a runner at third base and we get a force out at first, that run won't count. If the final out of the inning is on a tag play, then the run will count if it scores before the tag play is made. So it becomes a timing play at that point that the umpires will judge. this run scored before I applied the tag to the runner for the third out of the inning. So in that case, that run would count. But if I had applied the tag before that run across the plate, the run would not count. On a previous episode, we talked about the ball being live when the umpire tells the pitcher to play ball. So if the ball's live, that means the runners can always advance to a new base called stealing bases whenever they want to. Okay? If they leave the base, they do so at their own risk. So a runner here can take the lead off the base as far as they're comfortable to go, but of course the pitcher can turn and try to throw that runner out. It's called a pickoff. So you always have this tension between the pitcher trying to keep the runners close and the runners trying to take as much distance as they can towards the next base without getting thrown out.
He's out! Alright, so that was episode 3, Hits and Outs. Join us next time when we talk about the nuances of the game, the art of arguing with an umpire.